Air signs, hello. Welcome to your new moon check-in. So we are going to start with the Starseed Oracle. Just give you a little food for thought, something to think about. Then we're going to pull from the Queen of the Moon Oracle, something to release, something to think about setting a new intention on for the new moon in Pisces. And then we're going to clarify a little bit with the Rider-Waite Tarot. So we're going to go Libra, Gemini, and then Aquarius. One more shuffle. You guys feel a little clogged. Like up here, like within your third eye, it feels like a little like clogged a little bit. Like, I don't know, a little water energy making you a little soggy. But it feels like a little cloudy, a little clogged for you guys. They're saying, that's funny. They're saying shop vac. Like, you know, like when something floods, like a fridge or something like that. When I worked at the bar, we'd have like the coolers that would flood. Sometimes we'd defrost the ice out of them and you'd have to get a shop vac and like suck all the water out of them. You guys, I think you're a little waterlogged. You're a little waterlogged from Pisces season. We need to kind of like dry some of that out a little bit. It's almost like your thinkers aren't thinking right. Of course, the first card that comes out. Okay. So. Interesting. So we have star bathing, light body, crystal grid, transmission, and activation for all of you guys is a general energy. It looks like this person's ready to be shop vac, right? It's almost like drying out your towels after like a long beach day. Almost like a tanning bed sort of thing. Get you back into alignment because there's like these activators. Do you see how one's going right into the crown, one's going right into the solar, one's going into that sacral, one's going into the roots, right? It's where you get kind of your clarity and then some of that like life force energy, that creative juice as well. Some of you might be just like confused, like you have too many ideas and you're having a hard time like focusing on one. So Libra, you have, and this is why I giggled, perspective. So you got none of this matters. Just zoom out, common ground. You might be having a hard time right now, Libra, thinking that there's too many conflicting characters. Like there's too many things in conflict in order to create some kind of cohesion. Sometimes changing that perspective, literally zooming out, and instead of looking at the differences, looking at the things that are in conflict, looking at the things that are disharmonious, instead flipping it and looking at the things that are a commonality, things that are a complement, things that are cohesive, right? That might help you a little bit. Changing that perspective, it might shift your vibration a little bit as well. Focusing on the things you have with in common with people more, and I'm hearing common core math, which is interesting, right? I don't know if that makes sense. Some of you might be parents and you're complaining about common core math. It's the idea of like algebra, right? And whether you learned like the older way, like how I learned, right? Scrap paper and that whole kind of thing, or the kind of new common core way, those things seem in conflict, right? But at the end of the day, you're both trying to accomplish the same problem. You're just coming at it from different ends. And sometimes those differences, if approached from the right perspective, right, zoomed out a little bit, can actually kind of work together into a cohesion. Those differences can actually be complementary in tackling a problem from kind of all directions than just taking everyone having to be on the same page. As long as the objective is the same, that sometimes those differences can actually be much more complementary. I don't know if that makes sense, but that seems how it's coming through a little bit. And none of this matters. Again, perspective. It's the idea of not making mountains out of molehills a little bit for yourself right now, Libra. There is a little bit of that idea of this is really, of course that card comes out. They're funny right now. This is really hard. This is difficult. Like there's no way. Like there's too many things against me. Like that kind of thing. When realizing you know what, it's not that big of a deal. I've been through worse. I've overcome harder. You know what I mean? It's fine. Everything's gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. I'll figure it out. It's like taking that a little bit, of your power back a little bit more as well. Oh, okay. We got flippers and we got floppers. All right. So something that may need to be released for you, Libra, something that could potentially be acting as a blockage for you right now is resilience. Again, why I giggled. Card number 21. It's the idea of always carrying this like heavy burden on your back. And see how it's like this big rock, but it's full of life, right? It's full of all this vegetation, like wanting to plant it somewhere, like set down these roots into the ground somewhere. You might feel like you're constantly on the move, or you're constantly transitioning, and you're constantly carrying this big heavy burden that your whole personality is just wrapped up in you being resilient and you being persevering and you, right? And it's not that you're not strong. It's not that you haven't had to persevere. Absolutely you have. But it's also the idea of adopting that narrative as part of like your personality. Not that you have overcome, not that you have had to be resilient and persevere, absolutely, but it's the idea of that's the only thing that you are. It's changing that narrative a little bit for yourself from I'm a survivor to I'm a thriver. It's fine, I can handle it, I'm good. You know, it's a little bit like that may be providing a blockage for you, saying things are always hard. I always climb the mountain. I always do that. In a way, almost projecting that outwardly and then manifesting more things to have to overcome, more challenges to have to be strong for, more situations that you have to be resilient in, if that makes any sense. And really having to kind of flip that around a little bit might better serve you instead of I carry around these heavy burdens all the time. The idea of I have a large capacity. Right? I'm a good multitasker. I can handle a lot, but things come to me easy. You know what I mean? Instead of I carry around a heavy burden, things come to me easy. I have a large capacity and things come to me easy. Kind of that positive affirmation, flipping it around, because this might be providing a blockage for you in setting these new intentions, because moving forward, you have protection as your intention card. Right? This might be something you might want to focus on a little bit more. Again, part of the zooming out perspective that, you know, any mountains that I face, I'm protected. I'm taking steps upward, but there's also like God and 1,000 angels like pushing my booty up there with me, right? Again, it's this resilience versus protection, that nothing is thrown at me that I can't handle. I have a large capacity. I'm not crushed. I'm overcoming. I'm a thriver. And there's something about rest too, because there's something about perhaps you, again, adopting this narrative of constantly having to be persevering and resilient through all of these hard situations, that you may be, again, unintentionally manifesting them outwardly, zooming that perspective out so that way you can realize that perhaps you've been doing that. And part of that might be that you might not feel as though you're worthy of rest, because she's resting in this card, right? She's allowing herself to be vulnerable because she's naked, sitting in the nest, right? That is the divine, and allowing these divine messengers, God, your angels, your guides, to kind of carry you a little bit of the way. I always say, like in that Faith in Motion video, that you take a step, right? We take intentional steps forward on our path, but God and the angels, they really bring us most of the way. And it's not to poo-poo on like our own efforts, right? But it's not really we, it's he. You know, he's doing most of it for us. But, you know, he also has a much larger capacity than we have. So sometimes we reach our mass capacity and then we get a little tired. So it's the idea of moving forward, some of the intentions that you might want to be saying or to yourself or be mindful of is the idea that, like, you can rest a little bit, that, like, you are protected, like, you are going to get where you're going to get. And it doesn't always have to be such a struggle, right? That, like, I attract prosperity. I attract abundance. I am blessed. Not I'm going to be blessed. I'm in between blessings. I'm waiting for no, I am blessed. I'm blessed right now. I take intentional steps moving forward and I let the universe handle the rest. I am protected, right? Again, mountains out of molehills. I'm not climbing this mountain. God's going to move this mountain. I'm going to step up to the mountain and then God's going to move it for me. I'm not going to stress so much about it. It's the idea of, again, and taking that out a little bit, like, it feels like already I feel like that pressure right here kind of clearing out, because your third eye, right? That's your intuitive ability to just kind of know. Your higher self already knows that, like, God, the universe, the angels, they already have your back. They're already working all of this stuff out for you. That you don't have to stress so much about it. And again, changing this narrative so much. Things are always hard for me. Everything's a struggle. You're unintentionally manifesting more of those experiences outwardly to prove to yourself that that's true. So change the dialogue a little bit and see how that changes. Yeah. So, like I was saying, four of wands in reverse. I'm constantly moving. I can't set down these roots, right? I'm never gonna be done. I'm never gonna be there. Ace of Cups. What, you know, it's like the love, it's the new emotional beginning, something that's fulfillment. It's the refreshment too. It's a cup. It's a cup. It's the refreshment. 8 of Wands in reverse. I'm never going to be able to set down my roots. I'm never going to have the reciprocal love in my family, my friends, my lovers that I want. I never know where I'm going. I never know what I'm doing with the 8 of Wands. It's a card of communication. You know, my God doesn't tell me anything. My angels don't tell me anything. And instead, flipping over into the Page of Cups, right? I'm learning new things. I'm growing. I'm going to let people and energies that know more than me, I'm going to let them teach me. I'm going to let them carry me the rest of the way. The fish in this cup represents flow, abundance, looking at it face to face, right? Something like that. You might want to bring me up this jar. It's called like a good things or like a gratitude jar, Libra. And it's basically you get like a cup or a jar, and every time something good happens to you, whether it's big or whether it's small, you found 50 cents in the couch cushions, right? Your Starbucks points hit a certain amount and you got a free Frappuccino that day, right? You found your keys. Someone took you out to lunch. Your favorite movie went up on Netflix. Like, just little things. So, you know, you got Chinese food, whatever it is, little tiny things, big or small, right? You write them down in a piece of paper, you throw them in a jar. And if you're having one of those moments where you're like, Go take a peek at your jar and see over the course of the month. See between this new moon and the full moon, right? Or between now and Aries season, see how many things. And that's going to help you realize, like, oh no, they are coming through for me in big and small ways. And when I zoom out, I can see, you know, the duality of it. I can see the really big things that they're doing in my life, and I can see the really small things too that are also signs of admiration and love. Because the Page of Cups is a card of affection. Right? I can see how they're being affectionate towards me. I can see how I caught all the green lights on my way home, and that let me get home just in time to catch my show. And I got the last bottle of wine that I like at the liquor store. Like little, and they sound silly, but again, it's like perspective and zooming out, that little smell the roses kind of thing to make you realize, like, oh, they do have my back. I can move forward with this new moon and set my intentions knowing that I can set them. I can, like a crock pot, I can set it and forget it because they're going to take me the rest of the way. I can lean back and I can relax and I can allow myself to be vulnerable and not feel hardened by my experiences and know that they took care of it every time and they're going to keep doing it for me. Right? Right. Gemini. Loosen your grip. Coping mechanisms, density, addiction, let God in. You know, what's interesting is that when this card came out, it came out in reverse. And I actually feel like it's supposed to come out in reverse. Loosen your grip, coping mechanisms, density, addiction, let God in. I actually feel like for a lot of you, you've loosened your grip on you've loosened your grip on God and the universe, and you've tightened your grip on the world. And use that as a coping mechanism. Some of you Geminis might have felt frustrated that your waiting season has been a long wait. Losing a little bit of faith, a little bit of trust. Some of you could have become a little bit frustrated with your guides too. It's almost like, don't send me another angel number. Like, tell me when this thing is coming in, that kind of thing. So you've loosened your grip on them and you've tightened your grip on the world, but realizing that the world is very dense. It's very heavy energy. And there's almost like an addiction to the adrenaline of getting like really upset and then trying to do something about it and then getting really disappointed. It releases all of these chemicals in your brain, right? And make you feel some kind of way. But the idea is actually tighten your grip. Tighten your grip back on God. Tighten your grip back on yourself. onto those original dreams. It's like pick up the promises. Just because you've been felt delayed, it doesn't mean that you've been denied for it. There's an appointed season for everything. It's like if you want to loosen your grip on the world, absolutely, but tighten your grip back on God. Like hold on to God for dear life and your angels and your guides and like that knowing that you have deep down inside of you, right? Because to completely let go of all of these things that you wanted for yourself, at the end of the day, you could be mad at the universe all you want. But really the only person that you're going to be mad at is yourself. Because when you have armies of angels, ancestors, guides, God, every universal energy and planet all working and spinning in your favor, and then all they're telling you is just wait. Just wait. It's coming, but just wait. And then you just drop it because the wait is too long. You can't be mad at the universe because God and they have this big blueprint for you. They're all working it in your favor. But you were feeling like you were lacking some faith, and we all go through that. You only need faith like a mustard seed, but you're only going to be mad at yourself, right? Because you didn't hang on like just a little bit longer, like a Wilson Phillips song, right? Just hold on for like one more day. So loosen your grip on the timing, Gemini, and tighten your grip on God. Tighten your grip and work on really working up those faith muscles a little bit. I always say you can plant all those seeds that you want, but faith is a fertilizer, right? You put a little faith on that thing and it starts growing a lot faster. And I think that you're noticing the cause and effect. When we separate ourselves a little bit, I forgot who had this. Somebody had this energy as well. When you separate yourself from God a little bit, things all of a sudden, they start feeling more dense, right? We start going through more of those emotional highs and lows. We're not under the peace anymore of knowing that we're protected, like Libra, right? So it's just something to think about. It may or may not apply to you, but it's what's coming through. So it's just food for thought for the new moon, right? In what ways have you maybe been doing that? Oh, okay. Okay, I see you. Little flipper, I didn't even see you. So, something that may be acting as a blockage for you, something that might be helpful for you to kind of release right now, Gemini, is card number 2, new moon, beginnings. It's not that you have to release the idea of getting a new beginning, right? But if you look in this card, it's very wintry, right? And then here it's like spring. You notice that there's no transition. Normally there's a transition between the seasons, like from fall into winter, right? You see the leaves start to change. From winter into spring, right? There's a gradual thawing out process, and then it's not such a sharp contrast. It's the idea of you might not be realizing, it might be a blockage for you, realizing that you're already transitioning into the beginning of it because it's not lush and it's not fully grown and blossoming. It's not fully ripe yet. You feel like you're just falling, right? Not realizing that things transition. It's not like a light switch, right? Our spiritual seasons are very much like the natural season. There is a transition process. So to kind of just release, it's almost like looking like, is the beginning here yet? Is the beginning here yet? Is the beginning here yet? Not realizing that it's not that light switch, that it's already kind of started. It's already slowly trickling in for you, and kind of looking out the window like that, almost missing all of the signs, synchronicities, the things that are happening right now, missing the things that are happening right now that already indicate that. So that might be a blockage for you. That might be something you kind of want to release, is the idea of, is my new beginning here? Is my new beginning here? Maybe just kind of focus on things that are slowly already transforming in your life in big and small ways. A little bit like Libra with maybe you want to do the same jar thing that Libra's doing, but maybe you want to do it in terms of transformation, right? I can see that I was able to save $5 extra this week, right? I was able to cut my spending down by $10 this week. I was able to, gain an extra client. I wasn't so upset when I lost a client, and that shows emotional maturity. Just like little things like that, almost like Libra with their jar, but you are talking about like little things of transformation that you might not realize, right? I'm not feeling so stressed this week about this. I didn't overschedule myself. I learned how to have more of a work-life balance this week. Like little things like that that also indicate that you're transitioning into a new beginning. Now, in your intentions, you have self-love. This is important. You might not be realizing that there could be issues that you're having with self-love or self-worth or self-esteem, and you could be projecting that outwardly onto the universe, onto God. I'm not lovable. God doesn't love me enough to do it, and that's why I've been waiting so long. I know he can do it, but he doesn't want to do it. Otherwise, he would have done it already, right? Not realizing that you have to also walk in to this beginning like whole, loving yourself, taking care of yourself as well in big and small ways, You know, and it's interesting, and I was talking about the spring and all of the flowers blossoming, and in this card, the flowers are blossoming out of your head, right? It's like pretty thoughts, thinking nice things about yourself, positive affirmations. And it's like all of these it's like how things are connecting, how things are all connecting. They're working out in my favor. I'm transforming. It's also like a very nurturing aspect as well. And our hands are on her throat chakra. So again, it's like how you're expressing yourself to yourself. There's something about talking down on yourself. A little bit, Gemini. Even in like very sly and subtle ways. It's like saying, well, I know I'm not perfect, but I know that I'm not the best looking person, but I know I'm not the most qualified, but no, but nothing. Just skip that whole part and then move directly into I'm lovable and I'm worthy and I'm worthy of nurturing and I have a right to speak and I have a right to be here and that kind of, I know I made mistakes, but yeah, who hasn't? Cut that part out and move directly into the self-love, into the self-compassion as well. Because after going through a lot of this loosen your grip stuff, it seems like you need a little grace and compassion for yourself. A little bit of self-forgiveness as well. That sometimes we go into those fight or flight moments. Who had this? Maybe it was Leo or Aries. Maybe I watched a Leo or Aries. I felt like they were like taking. I think it was Aries. They had to like take it. They had to like take their blessings. So I didn't feel like worthy of them because they were waiting too long. There's something in that. And 2 and 6, we're missing the 3, which is the collaborative energy. 4 is foundational, and then 5 is change. By just acting in a greater sense of self-love for yourself, it will help you recognize how much love is available to you, how much your angels and God love you. And that in and of itself is a form of collaboration, setting a new moon, setting a new level of emotional and spiritual foundation by regaining that grip on God and your faith, which will then enact the 5, which is the change that you really want to see. Okay. Yeah, because you have the King of Wands and the Ace of Pentacles. So feeling really unfocused, unmotivated, and unable to access this Ace of Pentacles. Again, it's a little bit of that like scrambling energy. It's a little bit of that scrambling energy. It's like this is your 8 mile. If I don't do it now, then it'll never happen. And that's not true because you have the Judgment underneath that, which talks about resurrection and talks about renewal. Again, this spring. But for these people to go from lying in these coffins to standing up and praising God, they have to start to sit up, get to their feet, raise their arms, realize they're alive, right? It's like there is a transitional moment about that. It's not like a light switch. They keep wanting me to tell you that. It's not always like a light switch. Sometimes it is, but sometimes it isn't. And some of these aspects as well, we don't know that all these people rose up at the same time. This little guy could have come up first, and then maybe a couple of these people in the back, and then someone over here, and someone over there. Again, that's taking note of little tiny transformations that are happening for you. So part of this new moon intention for yourself might be to be more mindful of the tiny triumphs. Bless me. To be more mindful of the tiny triumphs, the tiny resurrections that are coming in for you. Because again, that will also shift that vibration for you. Because it's almost like, even again, to bring me back to the season, like the weather gets a little bit warmer. The snow starts to thaw out. You start to maybe see a little sprout. Maybe you see a couple, leaves on the tree come up. Then maybe you see a flower. It's like the renewal comes in stages. So, Aquarius. Portal. Doors are opening. You decide. Rewards. Wild card. There's a lot of discernment coming off of this card for me right now, Aquarius. It's the idea that you are very much moving quite quickly into a new timeline, into your new season, right? But doors are opening. Not every door that opens you should walk through. Some are for you, some are temptations, some are tests, some could be deep. Like, there's a lot of different doors, and I don't say that to freak you out. The reason all of these doors are going to open for you at the same time is because the spiritual energies have faith that you will be able to use your discernment to pick which doors are for you and which ones aren't for you. If they didn't think you were able to make that decision, they wouldn't open up so many of them for you. They'd only open up like one or two, if that makes any sense. Wild card. What you might come to find is the door that's right for you might actually be the door you would least pick. It would be like almost in the past, like your last selection, because maybe it seemed wild, or maybe it seemed unusual or a little risky. But they're bringing me back to rewards. No risk, no reward. And that might be the thing you really have to use your discernment, because logically there could be a door opening for you that your logical mind or your ego might say, do not go there. Don't take that door. That door seems crazy. That door seems like it's going to take you straight to crazy town. No way. But your intuition might be telling you that door seems risky, but it's going to have the biggest reward payoff because it takes the most faith to walk through it. And that's why it's a wild card. And that's why you need your discernment, especially moving forward with this new moon, to set the intentions to, I'm saying bravery, to have wisdom, just discernment, but also bravery as well. To choose the door that's actually best for you and not necessarily the door that's the most convenient for you, Aquarius. Because what did I say? Was it on Libra? You can think yourself out of your blessings. You can think yourself out of a breakthrough. Again, your logical, reasonable mind might tell you, no. But your intuition might be like, that's the one. Look. We're gonna split discernment. All right. Now, something that you might want to consider releasing, or something that could be providing a blockage for you, is you have the card fruition and you have it coming out in reverse. It's the idea of really wanting things to come into fruition for you and trying to logically choose options and opportunities and even people that are going to most likely bring you to the fruition that you want. But it's the idea of not trying to play it safe or play it convenient, because it might actually end up being unfulfilling to you in some aspect. Not choosing things just because of the perceived payoff. It's that not all glitter is gold sort of situation. It's a little too calculating. There's a difference between being discerning and being calculating. So that might be something that could be like blocking you potentially, or being a little bit of a limitation, seeing certain opportunities, seeing certain people, presuming that they're going to be a safe bet, or presuming that it's going to be a fruitful experience for you, but over or under calculating it, depending on how much information you do or do not have. Throat chakra. It happened for Sagittarius too. I get it. Thank you. So, moving forward for your intentions, Aquarius, something you might want to consider is you have the card Focus, but it came out in reverse. And I heard feel over focus. Feel over focus. And then as I look at this card, I realize that her head is half underwater. Pisces season, water represents our feelings, our emotions, right? Feel over focus, because you're over focused, overly calculating, overly trying to logic what is going to be the bet, right? You're gonna think yourself out of your breakthrough. So moving forward, what might be a good intention for you to set is to try and have your feelings come into alignment with your intuition and not have them be in conflict. The path. And 14, 1 and 4, that breaks down to a 5. It's also the things that you focus on. I think perhaps in the past, you might have actually really been focusing on things that seemed like they were going to have the best payoff for you, but moving forward, changing your focus onto things that are more emotionally filling. Maybe it's a door that seems more risky, but in actuality, it's going to be a door that's going to be more emotionally fulfilling. It's going to allow you also to express your emotions better, even if they don't make sense, if that makes any sense, because her mouth is underwater. Being able to express your emotions. Like, my throat feels really dry right now. Like, it feels like scratchy and dry. Changing your focus. And as I was saying, don't think yourself out of your blessings. There's a butterfly right over that third eye, right over that cerebral part of you. Transforming the way you think about things, what you focus on, what is valuable to you as well. Because again, there could be a door that may monetarily seem like it will provide you the things that you want, but emotionally it will kind of leave you high and dry. Because you have the 6 of Swords, which is making that transition, right? But it's connected to the 10 of Wands, which is burdensome. Swords being air logic. So the transition or the direction or the door or opportunity that you might want to go through might logically make the most sense. I'm hearing fast track. It might seem like it's going to fast track you to get where you want to go, right? All that cerebral energy, but might actually become more burdensome than it's worth. And instead, doing the Page of Wands, maybe taking the road a little bit less traveled for yourself, taking on more of that student energy, not necessarily knowing how things are going to pan out, but allowing that to excite you and kind of guide you, and using that divine inspiration. The Page of Wands runs on divine inspiration. They kind of let you know, as like a GPS system, a GPS system, you don't like to hear that, on how to go. Not using your logic, but instead using your emotions and using your passions. Connecting your intuition to them instead. And maybe it will take longer. Because here it seems like you're going to get there faster because you're traveling by boat. But because of the burdens attached to them, you end up going by foot, but much slower. Because you have all of these burdens attached to you. But here, you're going by foot, but you're actually moving faster than either of these two cards because you're not so weighed down by everything else. Right? Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you. So, air signs, I love you. Thank you for watching. I very much hope that this was helpful for you guys. Let me know if it was. And earth signs, you're up next. So if you're going to join me for the earth signs, I'll see you over there. If not, thank you guys for watching. It's very nice to be back. I very much appreciate you guys. And I really hope that you have a wonderful new moon. I will see you next time. Goodbye.